welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something truly charming. We're looking at Sophie Blackall's fantastic book, The Baby Tree. We're going to map out this highly relatable, honestly kind of hilarious journey of a little boy trying to answer a massive, universal question. It's really a perfect case study in how information gets passed down, or, let's be real, totally fumbled, across generations. Okay, let's dive into this. The whole thing orbits around one central, terrifying question for adults. Where do babies come from, right? It strikes fear into the hearts of unprepared parents everywhere. But for a kid, it's just a basic request for data. We're going to follow our young investigator as he sets out to solve this mystery. It's fascinating to watch how kids actually piece together the fragmented, kind of confusing world of adult answers. Section 1. The Big Breakfast News. The Morning News. So the story kicks off like any perfectly normal day. Our main character wakes up, gets out of bed, wakes up his mom, wakes up his dad, wakes his dad up again, gets dressed, and feeds his pet Brian. Standard morning, right? But then, right at breakfast, his parents drop this monumental piece of news. A new baby is coming. Now, his immediate reaction is just brilliant. He's got 100 questions spinning in his head, but the only one that actually makes it out of his mouth is, "Are there any more Cocoa Pops?" And hey, because his parents are just glowing with happiness about the baby news, they don't just say yes, they let him have a massive second helping. Well, it's only after he secures that second bowl of cereal that his brain finally formulates the real pressing question. Where exactly are we gonna get this baby? But the timing is terrible. Dad is running late, mom is running really late. There's just zero time for an in-depth biological discussion. So left to his own devices, our young protagonist realizes, all right, he's gonna have to launch his own independent investigation. Let's move to the timeline and see how this builds. To find the truth, the boy basically goes on this chronological hero's journey throughout his day. He seeks out 4 different trusted sources of information. First, his morning walk with Olive. Second, classroom time with Mrs. McClure. Third, an afternoon visit to the Ruth with Grandpa. And finally, catching the mail with Roberto. Section 2. A tree, hospital, or stork. Conflicting theories. Let's analyze the rather confusing array of answers he receives, starting with his morning commute. He walks to school with Olive, a teenager. He really likes Olive because she knows a lot of stuff, and she respects him. Like, she doesn't even make him hold her hand unless he actually wants to. So, in his eyes, solid, credible source. When he asks her where babies come from, she confidently delivers our first piece of folklore. She says, you plant a seed and it grows into a baby tree. The boy takes this data straight to his busy classroom and immediately tries to test the theory by painting it. But looking at his painting of a baby tree, his intuition kicks in. It just doesn't look right. The math isn't mathing. So he pivots to his next trusted source, his teacher, Mrs. McClure. Now her answer is factual and super brief. She simply says babies come from the hospital, right before telling the class to wash their paintbrushes. What's really interesting here is how the boy processes this factual statement through his own limited life experience. He totally disagrees with his teacher's data. To him, hospitals are exclusively for broken legs or having things taken out of you. He knows this for an absolute fact because his grandpa had stones taken out of him at the hospital, and grandpa keeps those stones in a jar to prove it. So a hospital producing a baby makes zero logical sense to him. Clearly, he needs to consult the man with the jar of stones himself. Later on, it's time to visit Grandpa. They go up to the roof, they let out the polite pigeons and watch them fly around. And in this calm setting, he asks Grandpa the big question. Grandpa looks him dead in the eye and confidently delivers a completely ridiculous piece of classic folklore. A stork brings the baby in the night and leaves it in a bundle on your doorstep. Section 3. Roberto's Egg Theory. The Mailman. Now, our investigator is diligent. The very next morning, before breakfast, he tests Grandpa's hypothesis. He checks the doorstep for a stork bundle. But the doorstep is empty. No babies. The only person out there is Roberto, the mailman. Since he's there, the boy decides to pull one last adult. And Roberto offers yet another totally different theory. Babies come from eggs. But when pressed on where exactly one gets these eggs, Roberto admits he actually has no idea. By this point in the day, our young researcher is just wonderfully, completely bewildered. Every single adult has given him a completely different, kind of incomplete answer. Section 4. The Parents Tell the Truth. The Primary Source. The boy realizes it is time to go straight to the primary source. After dinner, after his bath, and after his second bedtime story, the house is finally quiet. He looks at his mom and dad and asks them directly, Where do babies come from? And his parents finally lay it all out for him. Step 1, they start off tiny, almost too small to see, with a seed from their dad. Step 2, that seed gets planted in an egg inside their mom. Step 3, the baby grows in there for 9 months until it runs out of room. And step 4, it's ready to be born, usually in the hospital. This brilliantly illustrates the power of giving kids straightforward, age-appropriate answers, because instantly the boy's confusion just vanishes. Section 5. Putting the puzzle together, grading sources. We actually see something amazing happen in the boy's mind right here. He doesn't just accept his parents' answer. He cross-references it with all the data he collected throughout the day. So the crucial point is, he grades his sources. He realizes, wait, Olive was actually right about the seed, Roberto was right about the egg, and Mrs. McClure was completely right about the hospital. They all just had a fragmented piece of the real biological truth. But then there's Grandpa. Grandpa and his stork theory, which leads our young protagonist, and honestly us too, to one final hilarious conclusion. If the parents have the real facts, and Grandpa thinks a giant bird leaves babies on the porch, well, someone needs to educate Grandpa. The boy actually thinks, I'm going to have to tell Grandpa where babies really come from. It leaves us with a really great final thought. You know, when we avoid giving children the simple truth, we aren't really protecting them. We're just sending them on a wild goose, or in this case, stork chase. How often do we as adults overcomplicate things for the learners in our lives just because we are a little nervous about the topic? Definitely something to think about next time you're asked a tough question. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.